Every season in college football feels like it goes by faster than the last, but this year genuinely felt like it vanished in a blink. One moment we were watching early season tune-ups, and suddenly the entire 2025 regular season is already in the books. And now, everything shifts into the chaos of championship weekend. This is where legacies get built, playoff dreams get erased, and entire fanbases ride the emotional roller coaster of every snap. With the new 12-team playoff format, these conference championships carry even more weight than before. Some teams are already sitting comfortably inside the projected field, but others are walking into these games knowing that one single loss is going to determine whether they're in the tournament or spending December wondering what could have been. And one of the matchups carrying the most drama, the most uncertainty, and the most debate is the Big 12 championship between number 11 BYU and number 4 Texas Tech. This game is essentially a play-in for BYU. For Texas Tech, winning or losing might still mean they get into the playoffs because of their full body of work. But BYU has no room to slip. They know it, their fans know it, and even though some people argue they might still squeak into the Final 12 with a close loss, nobody truly believes the committee will give them mercy after contradicting themselves all year. And that's where the tension builds. BYU's mission is simple: remove all doubt and win. Texas Tech's mission is different: win convincingly and make a loud enough statement to hold on to that top 4 position and potentially steal a bye if something breaks their way above them. Both teams walk into this game with pressure, but the nature of that pressure is completely different, and that's what makes this matchup fascinating. This Big 12 title game kicks off at 12 p.m. on ABC, a spotlight window where every college football fan is watching and every committee member is judging. Number 11 BYU at 11-1 comes in knowing the path is straightforward: win and they're in. Lose and they're sitting in limbo, praying the committee decides not to punish them. On the other side is number 5, or number 4 depending on the ranking release timing, Texas Tech, also sitting at 11-1, coached by a staff that has built one of the most complete rosters in the entire country. And with the number 1 transfer portal class rotating in this season, they've transformed themselves into a program capable of winning games not just by outscoring opponents, but by dominating physically at the line of scrimmage, something that historically was never their calling card. The coaching matchup between Satake and McGuire is another layer that adds real intrigue. Both staffs have built clear identities, but Texas Tech's identity this year has caught a lot of people off guard. For years they've been known as a big play, spread it out, score fast type of team. But this season, they've become the exact opposite stereotype: they're built for trench warfare. Their offensive line and defensive front seven have been absolute monsters, capable of not only standing up to elite lines but bullying them. That is why so many analysts expect Texas Tech to try and physically overwhelm BYU. But there's a major oversight when people dismiss the Cougars. BYU is one of the most physical teams in the entire conference. They've won games these last few weeks by grinding opponents down, controlling the trenches, and refusing to be intimidated. So while the narrative paints Texas Tech as the heavy hitter, BYU plays the same brand of tough, line of scrimmage football. Which means this game isn't finesse versus physicality, it's physicality versus physicality, old school football with new school stakes. Pre-game projections show BYU with a 33.4% chance to win and Texas Tech with a 66.6% chance. The Red Raiders enter as 13 to 12-point favorites depending on the book, and the total sits at 15.5. Those numbers hint at what oddsmakers think. Texas Tech has the edge, but BYU's style and toughness prevent this from being viewed as a blowout lock. Texas Tech quarterback Baron Morton has been dinged up, spending time in a boot on the sideline recently, but he's technically healthy heading into the game. And when he's on the field, even with some inconsistencies in red zone execution, he brings stability and experience to a high-powered offense. On the BYU side, the freshman quarterback Bear Bachmeier has been one of the biggest surprises in the conference. Throwing for 2,600 yards with 14 touchdowns and just 4 picks, he plays with the size and power of a 260-pound linebacker. He's hard to bring down. He barrels through defenders in short yardage situations, and he forces defenses to respect every type of QB run, draws, sneaks, and everything in between. But he's going up against the top challenge of his young career, the Texas Tech defensive line, which happens to be the #1 rush defense in the entire country. Not just the Big 12, the entire nation. That front seven is relentless, disciplined, and proud of that identity. BYU's offensive balance has been their trademark. Martin's ground production is closing in on 1,300 yards, helping the Cougars average 34 points per game with 220 through the air and 195 on the ground. That balance keeps defenses honest and gives them multiple ways to control the pace. Defensively, they allow just 17.8 points per game, making them one of the more underrated units nationally. On paper, they match up better with Texas Tech than people think. But Texas Tech brings firepower. Even with Morton missing time earlier in the season, he has 2,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. Dickey has over 1,000 receiving yards, and the Red Raiders are loaded with pass-catching talent. They're averaging 43.2 points per game, a top 5 offense nationally, throwing for 296 and running for 194. And here's the twist that makes them a legitimate threat in the playoff picture. They give up just 11.3 points per game. That's the #3 defense in the entire country. Combine that with allowing only 68.9 rushing yards per game, again, #1 in the nation against the run, and you suddenly have a team that can win in multiple ways. Explosive offense, relentless defense, disciplined fundamentals. It's everything a playoff committee loves. Texas Tech has no plans to rotate out starters early if they build a lead. They're chasing dominance. They want that #4 seed and the bye that comes with it. And if Georgia slips up, they want to be positioned to leapfrog into that top tier. This is absolutely a statement opportunity, and they know it. My prediction for this matchup stays true to the matchup realities and the numbers. I'm taking Texas Tech to win it and move on with a final score of 34-20. I expect this game to be more competitive than their first meeting because BYU's physical style isn't something that disappears in December. But the Red Raiders are built for trench warfare this season. Their offensive line, their defensive front, their top 3 defensive metrics, everything points to them controlling the key moments. Rodriguez should have a standout performance, Morton will make the plays he needs to make, and the combination of offensive balance and defensive discipline puts Texas Tech in position to cover the number. And with the offensive capabilities on both sides, I'm taking the over. That's the full breakdown for BYU versus Texas Tech. If you're rocking with Beyond the Box Score, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop your prediction down below, winner, final score, and your angle on the spread or total. I read every comment, and I respond to all of them. As always, thank you for watching Beyond the Box Score, where every game has a deeper story than the scoreboard shows.